always been my favorite book for some reason since I was in primary school. So I read to you from this version of this Bible, and I have an interesting story of this Bible. I share it at the end of this video. It's not about what you communicate, it's how you communicate it. And so when we are extending grace and compassion, it's very important to have the right language when you're doing that. And this talks about you living a purposeful life. How do you get to learn your purpose and live it well? So this part about the consequences is when we lose our path of living with so much kindness, compassion, and extending grace to each other. The reason this is my favorite part, and it's also the power of energy, the power of manifestation. I'm big on the law of the universe, which is what you attract is what you become. Everything in the world conspires for you. Life is happening for you, not to you. Love is kind and patient, never jealous, boastful, proud, or rude. Love isn't selfish or quick-tempered. It doesn't keep a record of wrongs that others do. Love rejoices in the truth, but not in evil. Love is always supportive, loyal, hopeful, and trusting. Hello from the sunny side. As always, Sophia, the host of Happy Humans Foundation, happy to meet you today. How are you doing? When is the last time someone checked up on you? We always talk about happiness and wisdom. It's always the happy and wisdom space. So today we get into one of the best books to refer to for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, love, compassion. Mention it. Guess which book that is? I know it's not ringing in your mind. None other than the Bible, the Holy Bible. And doing it in nature, it just feels lovely to do this. So I know most of the times we think of books, especially the Bible or the Quran, from a church or mosque perspective. But if you look back, and I captured this at the first episode of Happy Humans Foundation, when I was welcoming you to the philosophical world, Eckhart Tolle on the A New Earth book refers back to our history, and that is from 5,000 years ago when we had the early teachers, that is Jesus, Buddha, everyone. They always have so much wisdom. And right now we are living in days where there's so much delusion when it comes to, I will talk about Christianity because I've been raised as a Christian. You'll find when you're reading the Bible, it gets to be diluted, and there's so many versions of it to date compared to back then. And looking back, there were always so much wisdom reference, and that is still the way we use the Bible for today, and for love, compassion, and very important learnings from the stories that are shared in the Bible. So today we have an interesting approach to it, and just before I deep dive into the main part, I would love for us to have a quick revisit of how the Bible is and how it's broken down. So the first 5 books in the Bible are part of the law. So they talk about the law, which is the code of conduct. How do I get to go about my life? And then we have the historical part. So the law part is from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Those are the first 5 books. Then the other books from Joshua to Esther, they're historical books. So they get to share lessons that we can get to refer to and pick the best learnings from them. And then the third and the favorite part that I love about the book, you can guess who is the author of those parts of the book. None other than Solomon. And Solomon, as always, is the father of wisdom. He's the one person who got to write a lot about wisdom. And that is what we'll be tapping on for this video for today. But before we go that, I think it's important you get good understanding of the breakdown of the Bible up to the 52nd book. Then the fourth part is the gospel books. It's actually the major books, which are more of prophetic. So we have the major prophets and then the minor prophets. So the major ones are from Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, and Hosea. Then we have the minor ones, who are from Joel, Amos, actually from Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. I know you didn't know that, so I'm just happy to share so that we all get to learn together. So those are more of the prophet books. Then when we get to the New Testament, we have the gospel books from Matthew to Acts, where they share the history of church. Then after that, we have the letters from Romans all the way to the book of Jude. And then again, for all the letters, they are broken into 3, where we have prison letters, that is Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. Then we have the pastoral ones, the Thessalonians, then Timothy, Titus, and Philemon. Then the other general letters we have from Hebrews, James, and I also love James. I'll capture a verse I love a lot. It's actually my favorite verse from the Bible, and I think you will resonate when I get to share that part of it. Then we have Peter, John, and Jude. And last but not least, I think you can also guess which is the last chapter in the Bible, or rather the last book, Revelation, which is a prophecy book. That's pretty much a good coverage of the content from the Bible. And my deep dive for today that I would love to share with you, as always, this is the happy and wisdom space. And we know Solomon to be the happiest and the wisest man in the Bible. So there wouldn't be a better way to pay reference to history in those days based on the words that were shared of so much wisdom. And I think what I can touch on is Ecclesiastes. And it's always been my favorite book for some reason since I was in primary school. So I read to you from this version of this Bible. And I have an interesting story of this Bible. I'll share it at the end of this video. So Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 7 says, "Be happy and enjoy eating and drinking. God decided long ago that this is what you should do. Dress up, comb your hair, and look your best. Life is short, and you love your wife, so enjoy being with her." This is what you're supposed to do as you struggle through life on this earth. Work hard at whatever you do. You will soon go to the world of the dead, where no one works or thinks or reasons or knows anything. This is the power of getting up, stepping out, and living fully. Who would have thought this was written so many years back, decades, centuries, thousands of years ago? There's a whole description of live your life. We all call it YOLO. You only live once. This is the definition of YOLO. You only have one shot at it. So show up looking your best, your very best, which is so good. Then the other part that I can share is it pays to work hard. That is chapter 11. It says, "Be generous, and someday you will be rewarded." It's the power of giving. The more you give, the more you receive. We all live together to share so much. Then still chapter 11 verse 9, it says, "Be cheerful and enjoy life while you are young. Do what you want and find pleasure in what you see. But don't forget that God will judge you for everything you do." And this talks about you living a purposeful life. How do you get to learn your purpose and live it well? So this part about the consequences is when we lose our path of living with so much kindness, compassion, and extending grace to each other. Then this part, chapter 12 of keep your Creator in mind where you're young. In years to come, you will be burdened down with troubles and say, "I don't enjoy life anymore." And that talks about when we think about God, it's that supreme being. It's who you refer to as your divine source of power. Allah, it's the same. Divine, they're all supreme beings, and we rely on them for so much source of hope in our lives. And as I had promised, I will share a verse from my favorite part of the book. And while at it, coincidences. I don't know why the universe just decided to stop at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where it talks about love. After all, to be human is to love. Love is kind and patient, never jealous, boastful, proud, or rude. Love isn't selfish or quick-tempered. It doesn't keep a record of wrongs that others do. Love rejoices in the truth, but not in evil. Love is always supportive, loyal, hopeful, and trusting. How cool is that? So, again, that's just happened. I opened the Bible again at James, which is my favorite. My favorite verse is based on James. And James chapter 1 says this from verse 3, actually verse 2. It talks about faith and wisdom. Again, wisdom always. My friends, be glad even if you have a lot of trouble. You know that you learn to endure by having your faith tested. But you must learn to endure everything so that you will be completely mature and not lacking in anything. If any of you need wisdom, you should ask God, and it will be given to you. God is generous and won't correct you for asking. But when you ask for something, you must have faith and not doubt. Anyone who doubts is like an ocean wave tossed around in a storm. If you're that kind of person, you can't make up your mind and you surely can't be trusted. So don't expect the Lord to give you anything at all. The reason this is my favorite part, and it's also the power of energy, the power of manifestation. I'm big on the law of the universe, which is what you attract is what you become. Everything in the world conspires for you. Life is happening for you, not to you. And that is what the Bible says at this specific point, where it talks about if you're asking for something, ask for it with everything, with the power of your bone, the whole of your existence. Ask without a doubt. Because if you doubt, you're like a drop tossed in the ocean. That is what it means. And if you believe in your supreme being, why are you not trusting him enough to deliver that which you want? He has said he will deliver it for you. So why are you going ahead to doubt his ability? And you say you trust in him. It's about the test of faith and wisdom. So when you ask for anything, ask for it without a doubt. And back to always our reference on my manifestation board, my vision board. I love the Jeep. I know I will drive the Jeep soon. So I have never doubted that I will drive a Jeep. Every time I know I'm driving that Jeep and it's coming sooner than later, right? Right? Yes. So in everything that we get to do, there's so much power. And I've seen also a chapter verse here that I can share as parting shot. My friends, we should not all try to become teachers. In fact, teachers will be judged more strictly than others. All of us do many wrong things, but if you can control your tongue, you're mature and able to control your whole body. This talks a lot about the power of communication. It's not about what you communicate, it's how you communicate it. And so, when we are extending grace and compassion, it's very important to have the right language when you're doing that. I might be telling you, get out of there. Or I might kindly say, please, is it okay if I pass through there? Or there's so many ways to say the same thing without being there to offend the other party. So I love the approach of this. And I attended this week, in the third week of October. It has been an interesting one. I did a personal challenge where I talked with my sister from the village. That was at 2 p.m. and she told me she's having fellowship at home. And I did a personal challenge. I would call it a Kipchoge personal best. I decided to drive to the village and get there by 4 p.m. for the service, and I did it. And interestingly, the sermon was about this. Silence is the best response. Sometimes it's best to keep quiet when you don't have the best response. And I find that is so powerful. There's the power in listening. Sometimes all we need to do is listen. Sometimes that's all we need. It's the it's the most powerful way of communicating. Sometimes we feel like everything that is said, we need to respond to it. And what happens if you're listening to respond, you actually miss out the point, because we need to get to an intuitive level of listening where you're listening to understand. That is about compassion. It's about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes for you to get to listen to them. Sometimes all people want to is to be heard. Actually, they don't want to hear any feedback. And maybe the right way to ask that is after a person expresses themselves, you get to ask them, how can I support you? And then it's for them to make that call on what best fits them. Lovely. I think that's the best parting shot for us talking about the Bible. And let's see what we can add on to that. Because what I do with my Bible is I get to mark when I'm reading. So I'm sure I'll find something else. There's something about the Bible. When you just touch it, you just feel like going on and on and on. And that's the power of wisdom. That's how you pay mad respect to it, because there's so much wisdom. So like now what I've opened right now is Psalms 46 verse 10. And it says, our God says, come down and learn that I am God. All nations on earth will honor me. The Lord all-powerful is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. I love this because it talks about stillness. Stillness is about being present in the moment. That's what Happy Humans Foundation is all about. We always talk about happiness. Happiness is stillness. It's about being present in the moment, right in this moment. So the Bible always has a reference to each and everything that we get to do in life and talk about. So that is our parting. This is our actual parting shot. Be still. Stillness. The power of life is being still. We lose that a lot. We always get our brain onto the next. Like we're always on a vibration of frequency of, I've achieved this. I also need to achieve this. I need to achieve this. But sometimes you just need to sit still, take it all in, be in the moment. Like I'm loving this moment, being in nature, shooting this at my ancestral roots on my grandfather's land. How beautiful is that? As always, this is not a goodbye. See you on the next one. Thank you.